Welcome back to Tarot by the Bay. I'm David. Okay, I haven't done many readings on the Israeli-Hamas conflict, war, but I'm doing this one. It's because I saw a story on Yahoo from the Telegraph basically saying that Netanyahu and his wife Sarah decamp to luxury mansion amid growing public anger. That piqued my interest because I was curious how the Israeli people and the citizens are reacting to Netanyahu. Mind you, prior to this attack, Netanyahu himself was attacking the Supreme Court, trying to weaken it so that he could basically staff it with his cronies and basically install himself as a dictator in Israel. That's what was happening, and hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people were taking to the streets in protest over this. And now you've had this attack from Hamas. And apparently his wife, Sarah, is very involved in politics as an advisor to the prime minister. Much more so, as this article reads, than any other advisor or spouse advisor to a prime minister has in the past, Israel or otherwise. And she had like a 5-day delay before a war council was assembled. And she accused the lead that was announced for that war council as being weak. And there was basically, at the end of this article, was saying, she's not invited to any funeral that we're having. Don't come. Because there's a lot of anger and hostility towards the Netanyahus. They've had, I guess the public is financing a couple of luxury mansions that the Netanyahus stay at. And they were at a billionaire friend's house who has a deep nuclear bunker. So it's that wealth and that privilege. And while, people on the ground are being hammered by rockets, they're off on the coast in a highly protected bunker living the good life when you previously were trying to take down the country. So what I want to throw on that. And then the other part I want to throw on is news that coming from the U.S. Marine Corps. They went over there with suggestions on how to do a ground war. The person who is bringing these suggestions, Beau, the fifth column, just did a video on this one. If I can find it, I'll link it in the description. This guy was probably like a captain or a major in Fallujah during that bloody conflict. And he is now like a lieutenant colonel or a lieutenant general for like the special forces or something along those lines. So he's seen what it looks like when you have a bloody ground war, like Israel is proposing to do. And Beau was saying that this guy could come in and tell him, this is why you don't want to do that. Well, the U.S. Marine Corps just announced today that Israel is basically ignoring whatever guidance they gave them. And anything Israel does in Gaza is purely Israel's decision. They're not listening to the United States. So expect it's going to be a bloody, bloody mess with lots of casualties of civilians as well as military personnel. And a lot of destruction of property. Wish I had better news for you, but I don't. And maybe it's something like this that finally causes the Israeli people to throw Netanyahu out of office. Because I think that's where this is all going. Okay, first off, let's get the read on the public's feeling on the Netanyahus. Or just what's going on in Israel, public feeling in Netanyahu's. Let's see what we can get from that. All right, I think we got it. Disappointment, betrayal, heartbreak. Again, Netanyahu tries to take over the government, take over the Supreme Court so that he could pass his extremely conservative agenda. The attack happens by Hamas, and somehow the Israeli intelligence agency and this administration who rules with an iron fist and basically will say, we're the only things keeping you safe from Hamas, because that's what authoritarians do. They find an enemy and then they tell you they're the only ones who can keep you safe from them. They failed and this attack happened. And now he's leaving the area and he's in a luxury mansion on the coast, well away from where the fighting is, living the good life. It's just the triple whammy. And Ace of Swords. And these the citizens are angry, and they have righteous anger because they have a certain expectation of how their leaders should lead, and this guy isn't meeting any of them. Underneath it all is the Three of Cups. I don't think this celebration is them tossing him out, not yet anyways, but I think what this is like, eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. The citizens are doing the dying, but the prime minister, his wife, and their billionaire friends are yucking it up in luxury and living the good life. They're not suffering. Oh, by the way, you can see my obsidian, my black tourmaline tower, my raw tourmaline, and my obsidian point. So I got my stuff out for this one. In the past, we have the Queen of Pentacles. I think, again, Netanyahu was basically saying, I'm the one who can keep this country safe. I love this country. I'll do everything I can to keep it safe. But really what it was is he was living in the lap of luxury. He had everything he could want and more. He's been brought up on corruption charges, and he managed to dodge those somehow. And here he is again as the prime minister. Current situation, death. Well, and I think that is literal death. That's death of Israelis. That's death of Palestinians. That's death of member of Hamas's. That's death to the way of life that people were living. This guy was going to bring a death to the way of life. Probably would put a spirit, like a religious council if there isn't one in place. But, he's going to do the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court had a rule that basically said, if you pass a law and it just doesn't seem fair, they call it the fairness doctrine, the Supreme Court could overrule it. If you're just being prejudiced against people, they could overrule it, and he wanted to take that away. So his leadership, his administration was dying, and now we've got this war, and I think it's going to speed up this process. Overarching, he wants to rule with an iron fist. He wants to be an authoritarian leader. But he's also showing the worst traits of an authoritarian leader because he's not being a war hero authoritarian leader. He's an authoritarian leader who's living in the lap of luxury while death is all around everybody else. Lesson to be learned, the hangman. It's not so much looking at things from a different perspective. It could be. But he refuses to look at things from a different perspective. He refuses to believe he's wrong. His way's the only way, and it's the right way. And he might end up being sacrificed because of this. I don't know if there's going to be another act that precipitates his removal, or if it's just going to be a large loss of life. But typically what happens is there's some horrific thing that happens that will get blamed straight on the emperor and him to be held to account. Yeah, I think that's what's going to happen. There's going to be one crowning moment that causes his removal. And I think his removal might actually calm things down a little bit, because this is about the calm after the storm. So maybe the fighting gets intense and they take him out. Maybe some big action happens and takes him out. But something big will happen that will precipitate all this. Okay, so that's the general read as to what's going on with the Israeli people and Netanyahu. All right. How is this ground offensive going to go? Is this ground offensive going to be horrific? And what's going to be the energy around it? But you can see my bias. I expect this thing to be horrific. I'll be very surprised if the cards come up anything other than that. But I've been known to be wrong in the past. So we'll see. This one just looks a little too easy to predict. It doesn't even require intuition. Big old batch of cards falling out there. How will this turn out? Okay, let's see. How's this ground war going to go? There's going to be a big push, big financial push. They're talking about money. They talk about health. Oh, loss of life, health or wealth. I'm going to say there's going to be a huge loss of life. If probably in the first few days, like if they just start launching rockets and artillery and just crushing buildings with people in it before they send the troops in to protect their own troops. They'll kill 1,000 Palestinians in order to do that. To get the victory, a lot of life is going to be lost. And, oh God, this card's on the bottom again. And while this life is there's huge loss of life in the quest of a victory that you're never going to get, the leadership is celebrating. The leadership is, out of touch. They're partying. While Rome burns, they're partying. And I think it's going to be this card that takes him down. It's that perception that he and his wife are not being inconvenienced. They're not taking this war seriously. In the past, we got the evaluation card. Again, what's going to be the loss of life? And I'm chuckling because of the main shooter, where I was seeing all these cards as wealth as opposed to mental health. I think Netanyahu looks like, you have to break a few eggs to make an omelet, but we're going to kill way more of them than they kill of us. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the big loss of life as long as it's them that's losing their lives. Because to him, that's what makes him strong. And that's what's going to secure his victory as the prime minister, maintaining the prime minister. God, this is just like the main shooter. Netanyahu's crazy. I'm wondering if Netanyahu is crazy, because this is kind of like that same, making the parallel between the main shooter where he killed 18 to 20 people, and and just this horrific acts of violence, and he was suffering mental illness. He was PTSD. He was hearing voices in his head. Schizophrenia. He had been institutionalized. He had made threats against the military base. He got fired from his job, probably because he was making threats at his job. And he snapped. And it's almost like Netanyahu's kind of like that same thing. He may not be crazy, but this whole thing is insanity. It's like, take Mr. Card in Maine and make him a country, or make him the Netanyahu administration. It's that same thing. They're going to go in there and they're just going to go in guns a-blazing and just spraying people, because F you. The voices in my head told me to kill you all, and Netanyahu is going to say the same thing. As long as you're killing way more of them than us, I'm okay with it. And so I get to this. Yeah, it's like, let's, this guy should be in therapy. He should be out of office. He really needs to be out of office. He's all about himself. He's not about the people underneath it. He's just basically saying, trust me. I know what I'm doing. Yes. Oh, your son died. Here's some reparations. Here's a few coins. I'm really sorry about your son being killed. Meanwhile, you've got all this wealth and stuff like that that's going on over there. People are dying. Just lots and lots of death that's going on with this. Oh, God, even more. While he's living in the lap of luxury, while he's urging the people to give up their families and their freedoms so that he can live large, there is death everywhere. Women are dying. Poor people are dying. These are refugees. These are women and children, if you want to take it as that. People's way of lives are being destroyed over all of this. Lesson to be learned. He was lying when he said he had everything in control, that he alone could solve the problems, that it was the Palestinians that were the problem. He's a liar. He's kind of crazy. Maybe even in a sociopathic or even worse kind of way. He'll keep urging people to keep up the fight and keep up the passion for Israel, but how much can they take? How much death can they take on this? Yeah, this is going to be his undoing. This is, as the body count piles up, as the damage and destruction piles up, this is a karmic time for Netanyahu, and it's going to be his undoing. Again, while he celebrates, people die. Oh, God. I don't know if I want to throw any more on. I don't know what else I want to ask on this. I mean, I could ask, when will this thing be done? But who knows? And getting Netanyahu out will be like the first step in undoing it. Maybe they can calm things down. I don't know. We'll get to that bridge when we get to it. Okay, so anyways, that's my reading on the anger in Israel and what's going on with Netanyahu and such. Yeah, I'll do one more. Sorry, I want to wrap it up, but I'll do one more. As basically, I want to sort of focus on that Wheel of Fortune card, the outcome, the Wheel of Fortune. As the body counts pile up, as Netanyahu is showing weakness, and if the body counts are piling up, it's piling up on both sides, and this war is going to be a long war. And he warned people it's going to be a long war. But what's going to happen as the body counts pile up? What's going to be a triggering event for that Wheel of Fortune? People get tired. People are just tired. They're tired of the war. They're tired of the death. They're tired of the fighting. They just can't take anymore. Too much has been taken from them. And again, this could be Netanyahu and his wife living the lap of luxury while they make all the sacrifices. But it's too much death, too much destruction. There might be one big event that happens, or hostages that are taken, that kind of thing that happens. And then a choice needs to be made about him. The truth. Oh, something's going to happen involving Netanyahu and theft, bribery. Maybe this is the intelligence failure. Like, either he knew it happened, he didn't say anything, or he knew it happened and take it seriously. This is probably about intelligence and Netanyahu not doing something about that, or making the wrong decision, not taking it seriously. It's going to get exposed, and that's going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back with folks. That all this was unnecessary. All this could have been avoided. Okay. Now I'm ready to call it quits on this one. Thank you for... Let me put this away. I don't like reading on this. Thank you for supporting my channel and watching this video. I appreciate it. Thank you for doing everything that you do that feeds the YouTube algorithm so that my video makes it out to new viewers. To those new viewers, I hope you found this reading insightful, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.